What is going on, guys? So today I'm going to be showcasing what I'm currently running for the Dragonknight in update 49. Now, if you guys haven't been keeping up with ESO here lately, the DK received a complete class reworked. It changed all the skills, animations, passives, the whole 9 yards, a complete change of the Dragonknight. Now, it still does play kind of how it used to, but it added a lot of buffs to certain skills, and it really added a lot of value to ones that really weren't used previously, which now creates competition and kind of more build variety, at least in the interim short term. I think long term people are going to be, making the meta builds, and everybody's going to be running the same thing in 6 months to a year from now anyway, so really it won't matter long term. But short term, currently ESO is kind of spicy and gives you some variety, kind of figure out what you like for your Dragonknight. So in this video, I'm going to be showcasing what I'm currently running on the Dragonknight. Now, later on into the video, after I get through my build, champion points, Mundus Stone, stats, everything, I'm going to go and showcase other gear sets and different gear options, because I know not everybody plays like I do. And, some people may be just picking up Dragonknight for the first time, or you may be coming back to ESO. You've taken a break for, 2 or 3 years like I did, and you want to know what is worth your time. And that's what I hope to kind of help speed up that process. But before we get started, if you guys are enjoying the content, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm back to make ESO content, so if you guys unsub from me because I stopped posting for like 2 years, really understand. But if you guys wouldn't care to give me a follow, I would greatly appreciate it. So for the gear, I think this is where we got to start off. So I'm currently using Frontbar Oakfather's Retribution. Now this set I was kind of caught off guard on the potential of it and kind of overlooked it, but I really got to looking how many major and minor buffs most builds have, and it's actually pretty insane. Now this set isn't going to help you kill Timmy with 200 champion points, because he doesn't keep his buffs up anyways. But where this set shines is when you are fighting good players. I was looking at how many major and minor buffs I can give myself on this current build, and I can get like close to 4,000 or over 4,000 weapon and spell penetration, and well over 100 weapon and spell damage. It just depends on the overall stats and buffs that I have currently, but that's kind of the max you can get, and it's only going to go up from there if you're fighting outnumbered, where other people are sharing buffs, that sort of thing. Now for the back bar set, we are using Wretched Vitality. One thing that definitely hasn't changed on DK is your sustain. I think it's honestly close to being worse now than it used to be, just based on how much the skills cost. So that is why we are using Wretched Vitality to give us a ton of recovery. And running this set allows us to run damage everywhere else. So if you proc a major or minor buff, hence kind of why we're using Oakfathers, you give yourself 260 magic and stam recovery, and then you also, if you proc a minor buff, give yourself 130 magic and stamina recovery. It was just a really overall good set. It helps you sustain tremendously. The scales also with potions and everything like that, so you're going to get actually more value than what the tooltip suggests. For the monster set, I am currently running Bloodspawn. I think this is just an overall solid choice for Dragonknight. You sustain through your ultimate, so generating more ultimate is going to help you sustain and also kill people faster, but it also gives you some tankiness and a little bit of extra stamina recovery. Overall, really can't go wrong with Bloodspawn. It's just a really solid set. For the chest, I'm using a one-piece trainee to give me a little bit more health. And that kind of does it for the gear. Now for the traits, I would recommend all Impen with how much critical damage is going around right now. I just don't have it. For the armor weight, I recommend 5 medium, 1 heavy, and 1 light. You want your heavy chest, you want medium everywhere else, and then you want a light belt. This is going to give you the most raw damage, and stacking weapon damage is going to increase your healing potential, but also how much damage you deal to other players. If you felt like you wanted to be a little bit more tanky or get a little bit more resistances, you could always adjust this accordingly to kind of fit your playstyle. If you wanted more heavy, change your head, change your shoulders, change your legs, whatever. You have kind of the freedom to kind of make whatever weights you want, as we are using 3 crafted sets on the body. And for glyphs, I recommend all tri-stat if you can afford it. It's going to be the most stat dense and just help you overall with your max stats. For the Mythic, I'm currently using Sea Serpent's Coil. Now, this is a really huge turnoff, especially if you play in open world a lot. I understand that completely. Partly due to the reason why I'm running this is I can't find an Oakham Father's necklace, so I'm kind of really pigeonholed to running this currently. But this is just so solid, and it just gives you so much damage. So you get Major Berserk, which is great, but I find the value in getting the Major Courage, giving you 430 weapon and spell damage. And you will notice your healing potential and survivability, at least through healing, is insane. I mean, you're hitting 10, 11, 12k Dragon's Bloods easy, especially if they crit. Your vigors are ticking high. You're going to get overall a lot of survivability from this on the healing side, but also your damage is going to be insane as well, getting that Major Berserk. And for the jewelry glyphs, I'm currently using all damage. I think I have this one weapon damage with stam recovery, but I would probably prefer all mag, but it really doesn't make a huge difference. For the traits, I'm using 2 swift and 1 infused. If you really didn't care about the snare from Sea Serpents as much, you could probably change this to all infused, or if you wanted to be a little bit tankier, you can run protective. Kind of really up to you on how you like to make your build. So for our food, we are using Bewitched Sugar Skulls. Now, the main reason why is because of the new Inhale. It scales off of your max stats, so it gives you 15% of your missing resources. So if you have a larger pool, you're going to get more resources back than if you had a smaller pool and we're running something like Jewels of Mistral that just gave you recovery. Play how you want, but this is what I prefer currently, and we really don't need all the extra sustain because we're getting it through Wretched Vitality anyways. So having just more max stats, in my opinion, is the way to go. For the potions, we use Tri-Stat pots, kind of whatever you want to use here. And move pots are great as well. I just don't have a lot of them crafted, but I just mainly just use tri-pots. Now for the skills, this is where it gets a little bit, I don't know if you want to call it off meta currently or what, but I play a little bit differently than most people, at least on my front bar. And I have some theory crafting and like long-term builds that I just really don't have the gear for currently, that I will share here in a little bit. So for the main skill, we are using Molten Whip. Now, this received a pretty significant alteration, change, buff, whatever you want to call it. It still plays similarly to how it used to. So as you use Dragonknight abilities, you don't have to use just Ardent Flame abilities anymore. You get to proc, get 1 stack of Seething Fury, I guess is what it's called. Increase the damage of your next whip by 33%. In PvP, as you gain each stack, you get a unique 2% buff per stack, which is going to give you 6% in PvP for 10 seconds, just increasing your raw damage done at max stack. So it's very strong. It's a unique raw buff that just gives you more damage. For the next skill, we are using Searing Claw. Now, most people may prefer the Burning Embers morph. I like this one currently. I like to kind of focus more on the hybrid aspect of the DK. I like the extra damage 6 that this provides. The healing on Burning Embers maybe is okay, but it scales off max health now, which is all right. But I like the damage from this, and I like it that it costs stamina. Like I said previously, your magic sustain is pretty rough. With this setup in particular, really, it's not too bad, and I'll kind of explain why we're not using a certain skill here in a moment. The next skill, we are using Disintegrating Dragonfire. This now deals flame damage rather than poison. It still gives you your major breach. But the big thing that happened with this and the Searing Claw is that they reduced the duration from 20 seconds to 10. So you're still hitting the same amount of damage you were previously, but just in a shorter amount of time, which will increase your burst potential and overall pressure on people. Now, Shattering Rocks changed pretty substantially. It no longer is kind of like an insta cast. It has a delay, but this skill is very strong, especially if you're zerging somebody down. Like, it is very hard to break free from. If you get stunned by it, you're stunned for at least a second. I can guarantee you that it just doesn't let you break free. Not sure if it's currently a bug or if it's just working as intended. Not sure. I guess we will see in the future, but it definitely is kind of buggy to, be fighting against DKs and getting hit by this skill. The buff that kind of happened to it is now it deals pretty substantial flame damage. Kind of If it did have damage before, I don't recall, but if it did, it really wasn't noticeable. The heal was kind of the biggest part about this previously, and this also still heals. I think you can roll dodge this skill now, so it's not so it is dodgeable, but it is not blockable. So that's kind of something important to note. The other buff that this gives you is minor breach, so you're going to get access to major and minor breach in your base kit very easily. Now for the last skill in the front bar, we are using Soul of Flame. Now this is the inhale morph. This is going to give you your resources back. You want to hit this skill on cooldown. This is going to give you 15% of your magicka and stamina every 2 seconds over 4 seconds. So you're going to get 30% of your missing resources over 4 seconds. Now this will proc off balance on people that are casting, you know, like if you're using Radiant Oppression on the Templar, if you are spamming Dark Deal on a Sorc, you can stop them from casting that. And this, after the 4 seconds is over, you explode, dealing 10,000 damage to nearby enemies. So like I said, keep this skill up as constantly as you can. It's going to help your sustain, and as you get low, I would definitely be using this skill just because it's going to give you passive recovery. Now for our ultimate, we are using Take Flight. I kind of bounce back between this one and the other morph with the damage shield. This one just hits like an absolute truck and gives you a unique damage modifier of 10% for 15 seconds. I mean, who doesn't want just unique modifiers? I mean, just like with Whip, we get 6%. With a Take Flight, we're getting another 10%. So we're getting 16% extra damage just for being a Dragonknight, which is absolutely insane. But the other morph is very strong as well, as it gives you the damage shield instantaneously now. So if you are focusing more on outnumbered PvP, it probably would be best to use that. But in BGs, that sort of thing, Take Flight is definitely very, very strong. Now for the back bar, we are using Igneous Weapons. This received a pretty decent buff in my opinion. So you get you know, your weapon and spell damage by 20% for 1 minute, so you get a long duration. But also whenever you deal light and heavy attacks, you proc flame damage passively every 2 seconds. So it's just like just a little bit of extra oomph to, you know, kind of just help you with some damage. Fleet Step Wings received a pretty substantial rework to the skill. So now it is a stun. It reduces damage taken from projectiles, and it gives you major expedition for 4 seconds. Very loaded skill. I like it on the back bar. You can use this on your front bar if you'd like, instead of Shattering Rocks. But I just find the value of, you know, the breach and also the heal and the damage and the stun itself to be very strong currently. So I like to use Fleet Step Wings as a defensive, you know, get off me type thing, where it knocks people back and you start to kite on your back bar. For the next skill, we are using, it's the old Coag. It's called Blood of the Elder Dragon now. So this heals you, heals allies around you based on your missing health. And it also scales up as you lose health. The lower health you get, the more this is going to heal you for. It also received a new unique buff. I guess it's not unique, but it's just Minor Courage, giving you extra 215 weapon spell damage. Very, very strong. I mean, what can you say? The next skill, we're using Earth Shard Mantle. I prefer this morph over the dot morph simply because the damage shield is very, very nice. Especially if you are getting pressured, you can pop this, get a little shield, and then hit your Dragon's Blood so you can stay alive a little bit longer. The other morph is probably great for dueling, that sort of thing, you know, giving you an extra dot. But this is what I like to use in my current spec. Finally, we are using Resolving Vigor. This is a no-brainer, gives you minor resolve and also is a decent heal over time. Probably is what heals you, you know, 40-50% of the time and keeps you alive. For the backbar ultimate, we are currently using Corrosive Armor. Now this definitely received a nerf. It is still good. It's not as good as it used to be. It increased the damage you receive from, I think it was 3% previously to now 6%, which is a pretty big nerf. And you can die in corrosive if you get pressured enough by other people. You can still definitely kill people with it, that's for sure. You're going to be getting that 100% in, but it's overall probably the best back bar ultimate for Dragonknight currently. For honorable mentions, now this really comes down to personal preference. The reason why I'm using Searing Claw over Incinerate is I just feel like this kind of hits like a wet noodle, if I'm being honest. This does not hit near as hard as I would like to. Now they're going to test it more and figure out why. Maybe I'm over spamming it, over casting it, and maybe that's why I feel like my sustain gets really rough. But it costs 4k magic, and it just doesn't feel like it hits hard enough, if I'm being honest. I mean, the extra critical chance bonus is nice, but it's just we already have low crit anyway, so I really don't even see a reason to run it. So that's why I'm using Searing Claw over that. Now, a skill that I am very excited to use, and I will kind of get into more here in a minute, is this Hearth and Home. This is going to give you minor heroism, giving you ulti gen, also gives you major protection, and also snares people. So this really plays very well into using the Sea Serpent's Coil, because you're going to be snared yourself. So having this skill here is definitely a very strong option. If I can get it pulled up here, there we go. I just need bar space, and I will get into the bar space, how I'm going to achieve that. I just don't have the set currently to be able to run that. Other skills that I think are strong, if you don't use Sea Serpent's Coil for whatever reason, is the chains. This is going to give you a major berserk and major evasion. Very strong skill, but I think this is kind of semi buggy. It doesn't chain pull as quickly as I'd like. It's just kind of clunky, but it's definitely just a very strong skill. That's what I was kind of saying previously, is DK just receives so many buffs that there's so many skills that you want to use, but you kind of have to prioritize what's the best ones, which ones give you the most value. And chains, it's great as a buff, but it's just really weird in practice, so it's just not really the greatest in my opinion. And that's kind of really it for the DK. I think that other skills like this, the Magma Fist, the Poop Rock, is definitely gonna be fun for like some bow builds, but for this spec in particular, we're not really taking advantage of it. And Obsidian Shield really didn't receive anything crazy either. Now let me go over some of the notable passive changes that I think are very important for people to know. The first one is this Mountain Giant passive. So whenever you deal damage with a fully charged heavy tech, you also proc off balance to the target, which is actually kind of busted. So you have to have a Earthen Heart ability slotted. So if you aren't using Shattering Rocks, you have to make sure you're using something else on your front bar to be able to take advantage of this passive. Now you can use this in conjunction with Whip. So if you're using the other morph of Whip, this is kind of how you're going to be easily proccing your off balance, and it kind of gives some variety to your build. Like let's say if you're running Pyrobrand, for example, you can get off balance proc on this, and it's a fully charged heavy attack, so you get to consume your stacks, you get to proc off balance, and then you can medium weave into a Molten Whip, and there's a stun. So you, I guess, technically don't have to run Shattering Rocks, but I think this is definitely just adds some nice flavor to DK and some of the potential that you can run on this build. Other notable changes is the Blessing at the peak, giving you base 10% critical damage done to the DK. Other base passive, again, Earthen Heart is pretty loaded for the passives. So whenever you deal damage, you gain a stack of Landslide, increasing your damage done again by 1% per stack, up to 10 times. So this is going to give you 10% base damage. So not only does Molten Whip give you base damage, and also does Take Flight give you a unique damage buff by 10%, and then you get 6% from this. You're also getting Landslide, which gives you another 10%. So it's just stacking damage on damage on damage. So now another notable passive that is very strong is going to be the Storm Voice, which, if you use an ultimate, you get resources back. So the more Dragonknight abilities slotted, the more resources you get back. That's kind of how this works. Very strong. That's going to be it for the really notable passives. Some of the other ones are kind of just passive, just increases your damage done, that sort of thing. Nothing crazy, not like the first couple that I mentioned in Earthen Heart. This is, like I said, a very loaded skill tree, not even necessarily for some of the skills that you get here, but also the passives are very strong. Let me go over our base stats. So with just our armor buff, weapon of spell damage, coag. The tooltip is 6,985 weapon of spell damage. Really low critical chance, not really focusing on that too much. Base max magic is 25k, health 30k, stam is 21,000. Recovery looks kind of bad because we don't have retro vitality procced yet. That's currently what we got for our base stats. Now if we start to buff up and proc our sea serpents, so there we go. Light attack, we are at 8,000 weapon damage. Actually bonkers. And if we fully buff up here, the light attack have full max stacks of whip, you're at a 30,921 tooltip whip, which is actually disgusting. Actually, one other thing I completely forgot, again, that leap gives you base raw damage done again as well. So let me see if I can fully proc, get everything set up here for DK. Got my sea serpents on, light attack, leap. Tooltip whip is actually 33,264 after you leap, which is, again, just gets even just more disgusting. For our buffed recoveries and everything, this is kind of our fully buffed stats: 1,700 stam, 1,400 mag, 8,000 weapon damage. Our resistances go up on our back bar to like 32k with blood spawn, 27k with on our front bar. We're overall just, I mean, just busted base stats. So for the champion points, I'm using this in the blue tree, Master at Arms. It's gonna buff your whip and your leap. Deadly aim for my whip and the dot effects on the Venom Claw, Noxious Breath, because that is going to be single target after you proc it on them, and it is definitely buffed by this. Next we have Ironclad, is reduces the damage taken from direct damage attacks. So leap, whip, anything direct damage can help you stay a little bit more tanky. And then Duelist rebuff for a little bit more mitigation. Also wouldn't mind trying this Cleansing Revival. If I was using more critical damage focus spec, I would be using Fighting Finesse for the critical damage, but I have very low crit chance, so it really doesn't matter for this. For the red tree, I'm using Celerity, Survival Instincts, Pain's Refuge, and Sustained by Suffering. Now, something of note that I typically like to explain, for newer players, is you really only want 10 points in this. The reason why is it increases the duration of your status effects that are on you, which again will give you more mitigation, but also will reduce the cost of your core combat skills per stage. So you're going to have 25% if you have this maxed out, which is going to give you an insane cost reduction to your block, roll dodge, and CC break. That's going to be your core combat skills, and bash, which bash really doesn't cost a whole lot, but it's mainly the break free, the roll dodge, that sort of thing. Then we have the speed. You don't want to run this. You could definitely use health or armor, whatever you prefer. I would probably go with the health if I didn't use celerity. That's what I'm currently using. The green tree really is irrelevant. It doesn't really have anything combat focused to change. Now that we got my build out of the way, let's talk about some other gear and other set options that you can run. So for the front bar, you have something like Gore Thief. I think this is a very strong set. It just came out in this update. It has a massive tooltip. On this build in particular, I had a 17k tooltip, which is going to be 8,000 in Cyrodiil. Going to be insane for a proc set for your front bar. You have other sets like Tarnished Nightmare, very strong proc. Not as good as Gore Thief, I think, but it's definitely up there, especially if you wanted to run some type of critical damage focused Dragonknight while not using. Another great set in Mechanical Acuity. Mech Acuity is probably one of the other sets that I want to try on DK. I know it's going to be good, but that playstyle really doesn't interest me too much. You basically have 5 seconds of fame, and then for the next 25 seconds, you are pretty much not really doing much. It definitely hits very hard. Probably the hardest hitting class and build in the game currently. You can get so much critical damage scaling, it's not even funny. It's just overall very, very strong for a critical damage focused spec, especially with some other mythics that we'll get into. Next set we could talk about is Essence Thief. This is going to be just a bread and butter If you wanted to be more a little bit stamina focused, maybe you wanted to use a 2H, get a little bit more stamina sustain. Essence Thief is going to be, you know, gives you a lot of damage, gives you 10%, but also gives you a lot of stamina sustain. Other front bar set is good old Pyrobrand from Infinite Archive. Very, very strong. I like the dot pressure, and I also like the damage that this thing does with a fully charged heavy attack. It is very strong. Don't think it's as good as Oakfather as a base set or something like Gore Thief, but I think it's definitely very fun to use. And as you get used to it, I was running it the other day, and you can, you know, hit people massively when they are in execute range. Other decent front bar set that you can run front bar or back bar is Rallying Cry. Who doesn't want free 300 weapon and spell damage and also getting all that critical resistance? You can use it on front, you can use it on back. With this crit damage meta that we're currently in, and it really hasn't subsided in a long time, can't really go wrong with getting extra critical resistance. It's very good, very strong. I think it's probably one of the, you know, meta sets, and has been for a while. I mean, you're basically getting powerful assault on one bar, and you also get all that critical resistance, which is just insane. Another front bar set that you can use is Stuns. You don't have to farm Two Fang Snake to get you know, extra 200 or 300 penetration. It's overall probably going to be just fine if you run this over, you know, Two Fang Snake, give you the extra pin. But if you have the time and you already have the set, then Twice Fang probably going to be better for the overall penetration. Next set we have is Burning Spellweave. This is an old set, not necessarily the greatest by any means, but it definitely fits the DK kind of role. Whenever you deal flame damage, and then you get a lot of spell damage. So overall, not terrible. Now, I'm probably not going to go over every best front bar set in the game for Dragonknight. That's just kind of a rough, quick and dirty, give you guys some ideas on something that's, you know, different than what I typically run or what I'm currently running, just to overall help people, like I said, for newer players getting into Dragonknight, trying to figure out what they want to run. For the back bar, again, we got Wretched Vitality. That's what I'm running. You can run Rallying Cry. That was also a potential front bar set, but it's also good on the back bar as well. Other option is Mars Bomb for overall survivability, tankiness, especially with as many effects that you can get on you in Cyrodiil and get that massive burst heal. Mars Bomb is definitely a very, very strong back bar defensive set. Another option for DK is using Daedric Trickery. This is going to be kind of like the reverse buff version of Kime Archers, but this is going to apply to you. Some of the buffs aren't necessarily the greatest, but the honorable mentions are the Major Heroism. That's going to be very, very strong, giving you ulti-gen, especially if you pair that up with something like Blood Spawn. You'll be shooting out Take Flights or Dragon Leaps or Corrosives, you know, quite extensively. For the monster sets, I really recommend Balor, Bloodspawn, Shootin, and Marsalok. Those are probably some of the big contenders. Obviously Bloodspawn for the ulti-gen, but also Balor for the damage and the penetration. It really depends on what type of build you are rocking. Now, if you were stacking Mecha Acuity with Balor, and then you go into a Corrosive or something, you really don't take advantage of that penetration. That's where something like Marsalok, I think, kind of takes the cake. I really want to try that set. I don't have it yet. Definitely hits very, very hard overall, just insane damage. The big one though, and I think the sleeper, is currently Chuden. So running Chuden is going to allow me to be able to drop my armor buff on my back bar and use some other skills. Like I said previously, DK has a lot of strong skills that receive some massive buffs, and bar space is definitely a problem. So using Chuden allows me to gain one extra skill, and what I would probably replace that with would be Hearth and Home, giving me major protection in the area of effect, giving me ulti-gen, giving me a heal in the area, and also snaring enemies. So this is going to pair very, very well with Sea Serpent's Coil, as the enemy would be snared if they are fighting me in the area of effect. Other skill, like if you're using Mecha Acuity, you can slot Incinerate here if you want to use Chuden. This is going to give you, your base critical chance. So when your mecha acuity is down, you can still take advantage of it. Others option potentially is if you wanted to use chains. If you wasn't using Sea Serpent's coil, you could get the major berserk buff and the major evasion. Like I said previously, chains is kind of buggy, so really it's not my favorite skill, but for the buff nonetheless, it could be an option. Now for the mythic items, I think the main ones are going to be Monomyth, giving you, front bar, all that critical damage, the major force, and the minor berserk. I mean, it's really pretty nuts. For the on that same mythic item, getting the major protection on your back bar is going to reduce your damage taken, that sort of thing. Another honorable mention is going to be Markin Ring of Majesty, just giving you base raw stats, giving you free 2000 armor and 200 weapon spell damage isn't too shabby. The next one I think is kind of a sleeper in this current meta, especially with some builds not having high critical chance. At least my base spec is Malakath. Now it's not going to increase your healing that you would like, but 16% raw damage is not terrible. I mean, everybody's stacking critical resistance right now, and it could be a counter meta to kind of take advantage of everyone stacking critical resistance, but nobody really stacking high base resistances, which is, I mean, it's kind of sleeper. But the only downside again with Malakath is it is not going to buff your heals like something like Sea Serpent's coil would. And last but not least, for the mythics, we have Torque of the Last Aelid King. If you are a brand new Dragonknight, have no gear, don't know what to run, and you have availabilities to get this mythic, I would definitely recommend it. I mean, it's basically a one gear set build. The only thing you really have to prioritize would be, traits and, like 5 medium, 1 light, 1 heavy, and your glyphs, that sort of thing. It's not terrible. I kind of ran the numbers. I mean, it's still weaker than running a mythic like I am on this current build, but it's definitely an option nonetheless to help you kind of figure out how you like to play DK and what you'd like to try next. So now that we kind of have a baseline for some really good sets on the Dragonknight, let me kind of make maybe 1 or 2 spitball builds that I definitely am going to be trying as time goes on, as I get and collect more sets. The first one is going to be the critical damage spec. Like I mentioned previously, I ran this before, but I definitely want to give it a try again. It's going to be front barring mechanical acuity. I would run 2 axes on the front bar to give you that critical damage bonus. On the back bar, that's kind of where it is your personal preference. I'm probably going to run Wretched Vitality, but if you wanted overall just more raw damage, you can run Rallying Cry. You can't go wrong with that. You may have to just switch your race and run something like Breton over Dark Elf, but I'm probably going to run Wretched Vitality and Mechanical Acuity. As far as monster sets, I would kind of like to try all 4 of them that I had mentioned previously. Bloodspawn's obviously going to be good. Balor is going to be good with Leap, giving you damage and penetration. You got the Shootin that's going to give you some more bar space, and then you have Marsalok for the dot pressure. All of those monster sets would probably run very good with that spec and build. And lastly, for the mythic, if you're running Mech Acuity, you need to be running Monomyth. That's going to give you, your major force on the front bar, and then on your back bar, you're going to be getting the major protection. So Hearth and Home is not going to be as good with Monomyth. I mean, you still can take advantage of it to get protection on your front bar, but you may as well run something like Incinerate to increase your base critical chance, so you can still take advantage of your critical damage that you have on that particular spec. So for the second build type, where you maybe want a proc set, I think you have a couple options here. Gore Thief and Tarnished Nightmare are going to be your more conventional proc sets. If you want a little bit something that adds a little bit more flavor, a little bit more risque type stuff, you could do Pyrobrand and have unique execute whenever they get low health. And for your back bar sets for that type of build, I think you have really all the options available. Again, I prefer the more recovery, so I'd probably go with Wretched Vitality, but you got Rallying Cry, Mars, Bomb, and Trickery. The monster sets, I think all of them are valid and all of them are good. Bloodspawn, Balor, Shootin, Marsalok. For the mythic, I think particularly for Tarnished Nightmare, think it'd be best to use Monomyth. For power brands, I would like to test out Malakath, since I don't think that can crit. It's just going to give you overall more scaling on your proc. For Gore Thief, I think you can really use any of them. I mean, Monomyth would still be okay if you're going to have a base critical chance, you know, using the Flames of Oblivion. If you're not using that, I probably would use something like Malakath or Sea Serpent's Coil, or even just base Marken Ring of Majesty. So I know this kind of dragged out a little bit, but I hope, you know, it helps some newer players kind of figure out where they can start a build, so they're not wasting time, you know, spending gold and money on something that's not going to be good. But that's going to be it for me, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me in the comment section. Also, live stream, going to be doing that regularly, you know, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop by the stream, ask me. The people in chat would like to help as well. With all that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.